I want to say March has actually been a really strong month. I mean, the first few months, January was okay, February was better, but March so far, best month of the year so far for me.
There was one day, there was like one Friday where I think genuinely 7 heavy hitting albums were all released on the same day. And it was at a point where I was like, I didn't even realise they were recording an album. And then stuff that's completely snuck up on me, like out of nowhere, that I was just like, I can't believe I have heard nothing about this. And there's a couple on my list where I'm like that, I didn't even know these guys were recording, and they are huge, and that surprised me.
Yeah, totally. So yes, I've tried to pick a couple of bands you probably have heard of, and a couple that you may not have heard of, just some more kind of underground, more obscure stuff that you might want to check out. The first one I want to mention, most people should have heard this already, but if you haven't, you need to check out the new Code Orange album.
It's maybe the best album this month.
Oh my God, I cannot get enough of that album. And it's funny, we're just talking about 9 Inch Nails there like 5-10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is a band that, predominantly were a hardcore band. I mean, if you go back and listen to like their last album, Forever, which came out a few years back, it's, predominantly a hardcore album. But this album, they've mixed it in with some really cool influences, and 9 Inch Nails is clearly one of them.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't rested on their laurels at all. They haven't regurgitated the old material. They've taken bits of obviously their hardcore roots, but they've also mixed it with kind of industrial sounds. They've thrown in there's little bits of kind of new metal in there as well. They had bits of that before as well. But I think from start to finish is a phenomenal album. Possibly I'm going to say possibly one of the most accessible albums.
Oh yeah. It's weird that Code Orange were universally known as that band that, was always going to be underground and never really going to be mainstream, if you know what I mean. And I mean, they're still not mainstream yet, but this is their most it's their best produced album. I think it's their best written album. I think there's so much diversity going on. This to me sounds like a band that are getting ready for the push. And they've been on the go for ages. This to me is the difference between playing a moderately sized venue to playing a much bigger venue. Easily in this one. I think at the moment as it stands, it's in my top 5 albums I've listened to this year. It's certainly my favourite album I've listened to this month. It melted my fucking face.
Absolutely. And they done something really cool, because obviously they released their album around this whole coronavirus fucking epidemic that's going on just now. They had to cancel all their shows and stuff. They still released the album, which is fair play to them. But when they released the album, they did a live set on Twitch, which was genius. An empty venue, no one in the place, just those guys on stage, but they kind of mixed it in with a lot of cool visuals. Really cool idea. And I'd never used Twitch before, but I ended up having to flip and download the app and create an account just so I could watch the fucking thing. And then they released it on YouTube, obviously, after I'd done that.
That's how I saw it, Dave.
But if you haven't seen that, then definitely go and check that out. It was really cool. What was really cool was the drummer has now went kind of full on frontman. He did a lot of the vocals in the previous albums, but he's now out front. And I mean, obviously sound wise, there is a few kind of 9 Inch Nails influences in there, but as a frontman, I totally got that Trent Reznor vibe. I don't know if you did, but
yeah. It's, okay. So once again, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird how all my tastes, Dave, are now everything that's coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is listening to the former frontman of Dillinger's new stuff. You listen to his new single that he put out, and it's got a really brooding, dark, fucking aggressive 9 Inch Nails tone to it. And he always kind of sounded a bit like Trent Reznor, but he's letting his 9 Inch Nails flag fly. But yeah, having checked out that live, what's really interesting is that it is difficult. I think it's difficult for a band that sound like Code Orange to portray as much energy to an empty room as they did on that performance. I wanted to throw my fucking chair across the room, and like grab my 5-year-old daughter's head and start headbanging it. It was that, and I mean, they're playing to no one. They're playing to themselves, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that's a definite recommendation from me. It's called Underneath. It's out now on Roadrunner Records, so check that one out. That's my first recommendation.
Right, let me go in a direction which is totally the opposite direction. If there is one thing you listen to in March or listen to this month that perfectly sums up how disjointed and depressing the world is right now, it is the new Converge album /EP called Endless Arrow Album. Or Endless Arrow EP. I don't know which one it is, because it is one song, which is 31 minutes long, and it is all the weirdest, layered, bizarre, strange sounds. Just kind of, it is the most. Don't listen to it at night in your bed when it's dark. It's the most ominous, surreal sound. It's like someone has seen like a 31-minute David Lynch movie and then decided to score it. And I genuinely, like, there was bits where I could feel the hair in the back of my neck go up. Because it was just weird, creepy, and unsettling from start to finish. And Converge have always been out there, and they've always been pushing like the weird sounds for the longest time. Another band that are like often cited as a huge kind of influence on a lot of the kind of post-metal stuff. But one of the strangest listening experiences I've had in a while. Just like and every time you think, all right, this is where it'll change. You know, the loop kicks back in again, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck? So yeah, it's as a unique experience as you're ever going to hear. Certainly, it's one of the more unique experiences I had in March. So Converge. Yeah,
it wasn't what I was expecting at all from Converse, to be honest. Because they're obviously known for that kind of visceral, kind of hardcore vibe. But, and you know, as you said, they have been kind of thrown in slightly different influences more recently. But yeah, when I heard this, I was like, what is going on here? It's one of those things, like, it's just one track. It's like, was it about 30 minutes long?
Yep.
So it's not really one you can just kind of jump into. You've got to kind of set aside 30 minutes to listen to this thing.
Because I kept thinking it was going to change, and it's in the name, Endless Arrow. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So weird. Yes. But I had to mention it though, because it is one of those ones where, like, I got to the end and I was like, I don't actually know if I like that, but would I listen to it again? Yes.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Next on my list, a band that me and you have listened to, you know, for years, but I hadn't listened to them for a while. And I thought, when I saw the new album come out, I thought, oh, I've not heard them in quite a while. Let's check out what they're doing recently. The band are Intronaut.
Ah, yes.
And the album is called Fluid Existential Inversions. And it's out now on Metal Blade Records. This would be up your alley if you were into the kind of sludgier side of stuff. I'd say like, try and think of a kind of sludge-laden riffs, but with kind of spacey, kind of atmospheric passages.
It's got like huge prog stuff going on. It's like a sludgy prog album, which doesn't make any sense, but like for some reason they pull it off. And I'll tell you what like shocked me about it is how fucking heavy they sound in parts.
Yeah,
like they sound like a steamroller falling on you from a great height in a cartoon, you know, just flattening you out. And then there's other bits which are just the trippiest ambient stuff. Like I can't remember where we heard them like the first time.
I think it was
Rock and Reels.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it would be Habitual Levitations, which was out like 2013, I think. I think that's when I first heard them. I'm
sure I reviewed that and I remember liking it. I can't remember them sounding this heavy.
No, I totally agree. This album definitely has more kind of dissonant kind of moments compared to like their last release, Direction of Last Things, which was out like 5 years ago. Definitely kind of heavier parts in this. And they've got a quite unconventional in terms of their kind of arrangements and stuff on the album, but it's also, although it's heavy, there's some real kind of nice kind of like vocal harmonies as well, kind of haunting kind of harmonies they've got on it. And you know, it's funny, we were talking about Converge just a minute ago. It's actually produced by Kurt from Converge.
Who, like, for a while there, he was like my kind of new age Rick Rubin, or my new age Ross Robinson. Like, if his name was attached to a production project, I was like, oh, I need to listen to this now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I totally dug this album. Kind of fans of like the Ocean or like Pelican or Isis, stuff like that. Really good album. Probably their most kind of cohesive sounding album they've done. Worth checking out. It's out of Metal Blade now. It's called Fluid Existential Inversions, and the band are called Intronaut.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think it's fucking great. Here's one that surprised the ever-loving fuck out of me, because I did not know that they had an album out, and this band are fucking huge. Pearl Jam released an album called Gigaton.
Oh, I actually haven't listened to this yet.
It's really good.
Oh, nice.
They're mixing there's electronics in this as well, like drum machines and shit, like, which I did not expect. It's really, 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 really good. It's nowhere near weirdly Pearl Jam would become more a rock band as time has went on, and less a kind of grungy sounding band, because that era died a while ago. But Eddie Vedder's voice, fucking amazing. The guitar riffs, really well done. The song's very memorable. I've listened to it like 3 times now, and I just get into it. I liked the previous album as well, though. I thought the previous album was woefully underrated in that it was just like a really good commercial rock album. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I did not know, 1, that they were recording. I didn't know, 2, the album was coming out, and 3, I didn't know the album was out until about 4 days after it. And I follow a lot of metal publications, rock publications, musicians, and all the rest, and no one was talking about this. So I don't know if Pearl Jam are no longer as relevant as I think they are. But it's a great album, very catchy, very commercial, really well written, really well put together, and the album's called Gigaton.
Nice. I'll need to check that one out. It's definitely on my list, and I'm a fan of Pearl Jam, so I will check that one out. Sounds cool. Duncan, it is 2020.
Oh dear.
And do you know who's still adding bodies to the motherfucking count?
such a great segue.
Ice motherfucking T, that's who. Body Count have a new album. It's called Carnivore. And this follows up their 2017 album Bloodlust, which I must admit I quite like. The last few Body Count albums I've quite enjoyed.
They are a band that have found their sound.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with this. I actually really enjoyed the new album. It's a bit cheesy in places, as you'd expect. But, it's the same kind of themes that they've covered on previous albums. It's, police brutality, racism, personal loss, all that sort of stuff. But they've thrown in some kind of guests as well, kind of guest appearances into this album. So you've got Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed on there. You've got Riley Gale from Power Trip. And you've also got Amy Lee in there from Evanescence.
Oh, like, if you're going to do it, get Amy Lee in, of course.
That one, that's the kind of one track that just seems a bit odd to me. But that track aside, it's actually a cracking album. If you like that kind of jumpy, kind of rap metal style, then I would definitely check this out. It's produced by Will Putney. So just expect it to sound thick.
Yeah.
It's like riffs are thick, drums are pummeling, and Ice-T dropping these lyrical bombs as you'd expect. Some of the heaviest stuff they've done on this album, actually.
Yep.
But yeah, I dug it. It's not going to make an end of year list, but it's enjoyable. Definitely enjoyable.
Wicked. Well, let me swing in with an album which I literally only heard about because we have a mutual friend who does promotion for a company that promotes. Well, not only does she work for a label, but she promotes a lot of bands through her particular promotion company, Hold Tight. And this is Huntsman. And she directed me to Daniel Carter's radio show, saying that he had played the new Huntsman track and she loved it. And our 3-word explanation of how it sounded, I was like, I need to check this out. And they must have been on the go for a while. I've never heard of them before. But their new album is really fucking good. It's called Mandela of Fear. And it's like a long album. Like, you strap yourself in to fuck with this one. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. And it's great. It's like just a really big slab of music, which doesn't feel like it goes on as long as it does. I think you lose time listening to it, but there's a craft at work in their songwriting that I really appreciate, and they know how to build up sections, like let sections linger. And the weird thing about it is some of the songs are quite long, but it never felt repetitive. I sometimes feel when certain bands of this genre like play big long kind of sludgy groovy sections or whatever, they will play, sometimes the riff goes on a bit too long, it overstays its welcome by about 30 seconds to a minute. And not in the case of this one. There was always something keeping my attention going. So yeah, it's a really good one. I don't think it's up there amongst the best I've heard this year, but it is certainly, if you're looking for a bit of diversity, something a bit different, check out Mandela of Fear by Huntsman.
Yeah, stunning album. I really enjoyed it, actually. As you say, it's quite a long album, but I think it's a concept album, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed, yeah.
But yeah, I really dug it. And I went back, and because I was the same, like I'd never heard this band before, so I went back and listened to American Scrap, their previous album. But this one I thought was actually, it's even more powerful than American Scrap. Great harmonies, lovely kind of guitar melodies, quite ghostly sounding. The one thing that really ticked the box for me was the addition of the female vocals. I think her name's Amy Bueno, I think her name is, but it just added so much contrast to that album. I loved the female vocals on the album, really nice. Yeah, check that one out. If you're into that kind of doom, post-metal, sludge, then definitely check out Huntsman. Cool album. Next one I've got is actually a band that I had never heard before. They are from Vancouver, and they're called Neck of the Woods. They just released a new album, or I think it's maybe their debut. It's called The Annex of Ire. And I'd say they're predominantly a kind of progressive metal band, but they also kind of dip into death metal, metalcore, a bit of kind of tech metal as well. Now, the thing that kind of stood out before I'd even listened to the band was I noticed that they were on Pelagic Records.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Pelagic Records, because like, if you look at Pelagic Records' back catalogue of roster of bands, they've got they've had bands like Cult of Luna and The Ocean and Psychonaut, all that sort of stuff. Great roster, and they very rarely kind of release middle of the road albums. So I was like, oh, I need to check this out, and I was not disappointed at all. Kind of like if Misery Signals were heavier. That's kind of where I would put them. It's an album that totally keeps you on your toes. You know, they've got really cool ideas riff-wise. And the vocals were one thing that I really enjoyed. The guy, I think his name is Jeff Radomski, I think his name is. He's got that kind of real kind of throaty kind of bark. It just kind of cuts through everything. Really enjoyed the album. As I said, kind of heavier Misery Signals. There's little kind of touches of Gojira in there. Even Between the Buried and Me at times as well, but really enjoyed it. It's Neck of the Woods of the band, and the album's called The Annex of Ire.
I've added it to my list, Dave. I need to check this out. You've sold it to me. Let's take it in a different kind of a different mood. I love this band's debut. You were the one, I think it was back in the Rock and Reels day. You played their single on one of the shows we were recording, and it was totally in my alley. A band who were formed at a lot of metal bands, who formed a punk band, who recorded their first album in, essentially it was like 8 months. They wrote, recorded, and then went out to tour. The band are called Pairs, and their new album is self-titled Pairs. So this is a third album, I think.
Right.
And I mean, I loved that first album. I wasn't big on the second album, if I'm honest.
Oh, right.
I thought the second album was alright. I thought the first album just had a quirky quickness to the way they wrote the stuff. Like every song was just like kind of what I wanted from I'm not the biggest punk fan. That's where people shun me. So there has to be, like, the songs have to either be really, really quick and kind of aggressively fast, or they have to do something kind of different or bring it out. What Pears did was they sounded like a metal band playing punk. Like, they had that kind of speed metal drumming. Like, the drumming wasn't just like kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. There was like interesting things going on. Weirdly enough, I don't know if I will like the middle album more having heard the new album, because the new album was once again a big step for the band, and I actually really enjoy it. I think it works really well. They've got a good mix of songs on it, which, like, punk can get a bit repetitive and boring with me, and that's why I kind of like Pears, because they weren't. Although this one once again feels like a push to be a bigger band, so they've kind of lost a lot of the sharper edges that I felt they had in earlier releases, but certainly have moved themselves into a more viable, like, I could see Pears playing bigger venues. Yeah, I think it's really, really good. I think it's, once again, not my favourite thing they've done, but I did not know there were, 1, still on the go, 2, recording music, or 3, they had an album coming out, and you messaged us and said, oh, Pears has got an album out, and it literally blindsided me, and it was a pleasant little surprise. So I don't know if there's been personnel changes, but there is a different sound, a different vibe on it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I loved the last 2 albums, like Go to Prison and Green Star. Phenomenal albums, and I think, I want to say it may have been one of the first podcasts we did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was one of the first singles we ever played, and I was like, we need to keep playing singles. Yeah,
it's superb. And yeah, I'm the same. I enjoyed this new album, but I don't know if I liked it as much as the other 2. The other 2 I felt were a bit more energetic than this one. This one felt a wee bit more restrained for me. I don't know if they were trying to go for a kind of slightly different sound. I'm not entirely sure. I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was a bad album at all. But I still preferred the 2 before it. But yeah, still check it out. If you're into punk in any kind of way, then Pears is a band that you should definitely check out.
Nice.
What else have I got on my list? Okay, so I'm going to go slightly heavier on this one. A band that I'd actually never heard of before, but they've been on the go since like the 90s. The band are called Afterbirth, and they've just put out an album called 4-Dimensional Flesh.
Love these names.
Yeah, they're kind of, I would say they're a kind of death metal / kind of slam kind of band, but they've got a bit of a kind of prog kind of twist as well. As I said, been going since the 90s, and actually the band features members of Helmet and another band called Artificial Brain. Now, I'm going to put this out there, disclaimer, this is extremely heavy. It's
literally put a challenge out to every listener now.
Yeah, I must go and listen. It's very much an acquired taste. I totally get that. But I really enjoyed it. The vocals are like guttural, like, I mean, like low, like even lower than like George Corpse Grinder. I mean, like very low. Guitar work's very kind of intricate, but visceral at the same time, and the drumming is just inhuman. Like, I don't know how this guy does it. I'd love to watch a video of this guy playing, because he goes around that kit at some speed. It's unbelievable. This particular style, like this kind of level of heaviness with the kind of slam kind of vibe going in, I usually find kind of difficult to listen to for kind of long periods, but for some reason this album kind of held my attention for the entirety of the album. Production is intentionally kind of muddy and raw, but completely works. Kind of, if I had to say, sounds like they're kind of like a mishmash of like Cryptopsy with maybe a bit of Disgorge or Vomitory thrown in, or Cynic even. But yeah, it is very heavy. So if you're like not into the extreme stuff, then maybe this isn't for you. But if you are, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Afterbirth are the band, and it's called 4-Dimensional Flesh.
Right, let me take you in a completely different direction. Okay. I've been like really eager to see what this band's self-titled album, this band's first album, debut album, would sound like, because they put out, I want to say it's 2 or 3 EPs on various different labels. They were signed to Roadrunner. I don't know if they still are in the States, and it's just through a different group over here, but Music for Nations has just released the album. The band are Milk Teeth, and they have finally released their self-titled album. Milk Teeth are a female-fronted, essentially grunge band.
Right, okay.
They write really kind of more kind of, I hate to use the word saccharine because it does kind of belittle what they're doing, but really catchy grunge styled kind of pop songs, for lack of a better word. They're definitely in the rock category, but they have a kind of, the melodies, particularly her vocals, are what really makes it kind of more poppy than anything else. So I had been waiting because I liked both EPs quite a bit and I've listened to them quite a lot. So I was worried that what we're going to get is just an album of both those EPs, which, let's be honest, I've seen it happen before. Here's our self-titled album and here's just a bunch of songs re-recorded from the EPs. This is like a brand new album of music and it's really, 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 really good. It is commercial as fuck. So if you are offended by commercially written, grunge-inspired saccharine pop songs, don't listen to Milk Teeth. It is not the band for you. But if you like if you have family and you're driving them in the car, you want to have at least some guitars in there and not listen to like shit radio, Milk Teeth is something you could put on for sure. It's really, really well written, very, very, very catchy, instantly forgettable, but a good bit of fluff. So interesting. I always worry when bands make that transition from EP to album, especially when they put out a couple of EPs. It makes me think, is that because you don't have it in you to write a full album of music? Which is fine. I'm happy if bands have 5 great songs, then if they release an album of 12 songs and there's only 5 great ones on it. But certainly it's stood up to at least 3 listens already from me, and more before the year is out. It is completely inoffensive and very easy to listen to. Milk Teeth, self-titled album.
Nice. I'll need to check that out. I actually haven't listened to that yet. Nice one. My final recommendation comes from another new band that I'd never heard before, and that's partially because this is their first album, but the band are called Irist, that's IRIST, and they've just released a new album called Order of the Mind on Nuclear Blast. Don't know a hell of a lot about the band, to be honest. I know that the kind of framework for the band started in about 2015. But this is basically, they've did some demos and stuff, and then they were signed to Nuclear Blast, and this is their debut album. So imagine the kind of face melting technicality of Gojira, and then mix that with like the melody of Mastodon, and then imagine the kind of post-metal atmosphere of the ocean.
I've literally just came in my pants.
And like for a first album, very impressive, like really impressive album as for a debut. As I said, don't know a hell of a lot about them, but just it kind of popped up in my emails that they had a new album coming out on the 27th of March. So I thought, that sounds kind of interesting, but definitely one worth checking out. That's Irist is the band and Order of the Mind is the album.
Nice. Well, let me bring it in with my final pick. You mentioned this band earlier on when you were rattling off a list of French metal bands. It's one that I really, really, really like. And they disbanded and they reformed and put out a little EP after teasing quite a bit this year that they were going to be doing something. We've seen them live. We saw them support Gojira on my stag before I got married. We went to see this band playing an all French lineup, which I'm fairly sure Dave booked. I think Dave booked the tour. But the opening band was Clone, the headlining band was Gojira, and the band in the middle was a band called Tropelium. So I love Tropelium. Tropelium are a band who, once again, I don't quite understand why they're not bigger than they are. And they have morphed their sound for sure over time. They've kind of got this kind of New Orleans kind of ragtime thing going on now with their sound, which I am totally down with because the kind of groovy techie stuff they do in the background totally suits the music as well. They have an image that goes with that and a sound that goes with that. But originally they started off sounding like a kind of tech thrash band, And I think the first song I ever heard by them was Insane Architect. And it was maybe the most headbanging song that year. Like, it just had this really cool groove about them. And they're very playful with the riffs. They're like a kind of slowed down Lamb of God. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Lamb of God do all that kind of intricate stuff with the bass pedals and the guitars, and go up and down the fretboard like someone slipping on a banana skin. Tropalium are kind of like that, but slower, and their grooves are a bit more groovier, and they have their vocalist is very Randy Blythe at times. I was interested to see what they would come back with, because their previous release from this one was it was an EP. It was themed, and it did have that kind of New Orleans ragtimey sound that I wondered after they disbanded if they were just going to go back to their roots. And weirdly, they haven't. They've kind of kept a lot of those elements whilst kind of merging it with some of the previous album. It is exactly what I want from a Tropalium EP, in that it flies right through, really good to listen to. You could headbang your head out of its socket listening to it. Vocally, it's really good. The riffs are brilliant. There's a couple of little tweaks that they do with the riffing, which just make you smile when you hear it. And it's a welcome return for those guys. I didn't realise I'd missed them as much as I had until I heard the EP, which is called From the Ground. And if you have never listened to Tropalium before, get on it, because they are really fucking good. And we can both attest, really fucking good live. Like, really, 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 really good live. There's something about that French crop in metal bands where they deliver the goods live. What they sound like on CDs, what they sound like live. And From the Ground is a great EP.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. I enjoyed the last EP, the Voodoo Moonshine.
Yep.
But, I mean... It sounds like the title of the EP, to be honest. It's a very well-titled EP. From the Ground, you can still hear those little kind of influences coming through, but definitely a lot more kind of grooves and actual kind of metal on this release. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely check that one out.